TMNT time! Or is it?
Enough with the TMNT time. Now, I, Orokusaki, leader of the Foot Clan, will step up and take over. As today will not be TMNT time. Today, I will rule this show. So for the very first Shredder special, we're gonna have a look at the originals. 3 cartoon shows. So many Shredders to choose from. Now you will see what true power means.
And we're starting this off with the very first version we got of Old Shredder as a figure, Series 1, Version 1 of the vintage cartoon line. There haven't been that much, but I got some aces up my sleeve, so let's have a look at them. 1988 was the time we got our very first look at TMNT figures, and of course, Shredder was right in there. As usual with the vintage Playmates line, he doesn't really look like he did in the show. Overall design is still Shredder, obviously. He got the spikes and everything, but hot damn, what happened with the color scheme over here? As usual for the original Playmates toys, we got a lot more colorful version of Shredder with no gray, no silver, no blue, and for whatever reason he has a purple mask and a purple bandages on his feet and hands. The face is straight up spooky. What the hell is going on with all the wrinkles in it? And this dude is completely ripped. He's skinny, but look at all the muscle work that went into this. He looks like a small He-Man. And we all know that Shredder has his cape with the belt, but he was often displayed in the box like this, wrapping around the cape around his torso, making me wonder why they didn't just paint his torso in the first place. Now before I move on, I want to give a special shout out to this figure in particular, because this is the original, guys. This is the one I got as a kid, hence why it's a little beat up in terms of color, has some of it flaking off, and he has been glued in his crotch. But yeah, this guy has been with me way over 20 years. And you might be wondering, who the hell is this guy? A little bit of backstory to this. When I started collecting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures, I really wanted the Toon Shredder version. Unfortunately, however, the Toon Shredder at the time was a lot more expensive. So I bought a regular Shredder for like 10 bucks or whatever. And special shout out to my buddy Steve from the Fancy Box, who did a bunch of custom paint jobs on his own TMNT figures. And I hit him up and I was like, Steve, can you make me a Shredder that's more cartoon accurate? And he was like, hell yeah. And the result, I mean, I love it. The paint job is fantastic. It's a lot more accurate. And he even added tons of shading to the metal parts to really make it look a lot more dark and gritty. So, again, shout outs to Steve. Thank you very much for this guy. I love him. Now, as time went on, I did get my hands on the original cartoon Shredder. Released in 1992, this version is a lot more cartoon accurate than the previous release. It's still the exact same body, but now we have some nice metallic in the helmet, which still has a little bit of a bluish hue to it. The mask is gray, and the spikes and everything now line up a lot better with the original cartoon release. They even added some paint in the eyes. Paint in the eyes from Playmates? What? Now, as far as articulation goes, these guys all had the very same exact weird pose, which I never really got. And that's a common theme with all the Playmate Shredders. They always stretch out their hand like they're reaching for something. Give me the pizza. All these turtles, I just want to kill them because they take my pizza. But regardless of that, swivel in the head, swivel in the arm, one in the forearm, and another one over here on this side, which is bent. And then we have the legs on ball joints, which was really a staple back in the day. Now, to round off the original Shredders, how could I forget about the 2017 NECA Shredder? Now, by far, this is the most accurate, the most detailed, the most articulated Shredder, because it's by NECA. I mean, come on, are you even surprised? This was a repaint of their previous year release for the Arcade Turtles. Now, I'm not gonna go into much more detail for this figure, because I already reviewed the guy when I got him. The groundwork had been laid. We got our very first Shredder, which was good as far as the mold goes, but needed some extra paint to really look the part for the TV show. Something that would of course be rectified years later by a lot more skilled hands. NECA! But who would have guessed at that point that they would produce so many different shredders that years later some dude on the internet would talk about them. So without further ado, let's move on to the next iteration of the shredder. Now, as usual with the 2003 line, they only gave us one shredder in the original design. There were a couple of other ones like the fuel shredder and those weird mutations, but we're not gonna have a look at those today, as I only want to focus on the originals. Once again released, of course, in the very first line for the 2003 Turtles, we got our very first and only original shredder. Well, okay, only. There was one version of an armored shredder where he could take off the helmet and he had some nice chrome shoulder pads. Unfortunately, guys, I do not have that one. Fun fact about General Ninja Turtles, a lot of friends I talked to recently told me that their favorite show was the 2003 one. And I can see why, because honestly, this might be my favorite shredder design. And you might say it's a little bit busy. I mean, design-wise, Old Buckethead never looked this menacing. Down to the red eyes, he has a nice color scheme. And once again, going back to the blue metallic paint job and a lot more armor going on in his chest. Has the very, very big claws and, of course, rocking spikes. I mean, that's the Shredder standard. Now, I don't know if it was a running gag at Playmates or they just wanted to be consistent, but this guy kind of has the same pose as the previous Shredders, no? He doesn't have the bent knees, but he's still stretching out his arm in a weird way and has the bent arm on the other side. Now, you do know in TMNT Toy Throwback, I do not talk that much about accessories because, for the most part, it's always the same, swords and whatnot. But for this Shredder version, I like that he got the magical sword that he uses in the show. It doesn't have the right color, but it is colored at the very least, with a nice metallic and the red going down to the handles. And you get two, so you can combine them to double sword with it. Random Star Wars music because Darth Maul was awesome. Articulation wise, it's still mostly the same. The head is on a swivel, the shoulders have been upgraded to ball hinges so you can move that up and down and rotate it around. No swivel at the elbow, only at the hand this time around. Got another swivel in the torso area, and the legs are just basically packed in hinges, molded like a ball, and nothing going on at the feet. No repaints, no updates, except for the armored version. No, just a one and done. And you know what? I guess if you nail it on the first try, you don't really have to do another one, right? 2003 Shredder just hit all the right spots, did everything correctly, and delivered a great cartoon-accurate figure. First try, no do-overs. Unfortunately, Playmates wouldn't fare so well in the future. So without further ado, let's have a look. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie here, I think the Turtles are in trouble. I don't think there's gonna be enough turtle soup for everybody, but here's all the different versions. The regular versions, still not talking about any mutants or clones or whatnot. No, these are all the regular Shredders that the 2012 show gave us. The first attempt, how else could it be, came in 2012 in the very first line with all the Ninja Turtles, the Splinters and whatnot. And to be fair, the likeness on this guy is pretty impressive. I mean, he even had more detail than the design in the kids show, just with the chest piece though, but some other things with this guy were just wonky and off. First of all, they touted about all the turtles having different sizes, which was great. Problem with this guy is, he's way too small. You could argue that the shoulder pads are too small, and for whatever reason they didn't want to extend his blades that are connected on his arm over here. Also did a very poor job with his sword as it just wobbles around in his hand, as he never really gets a good grip on it, so I guess just leave it. Now since all the figures from this line are a little bit different, I gotta cover the articulation one by one. This guy has still his hand on the swivel, hinges, small ones on his shoulder pads, ball hinge in the shoulder, and now we finally got a hinge which you can rotate around in the elbow, fists still on the swivel, swivel in the torso, legs on hinges which are packed in so you can rotate that around, and still nothing in the knees or the feet. What they did, however, crucial design choices, they gave him an angled foot, which basically renders all his leg articulation useless, because he's always gonna stand like this, otherwise he'd just fall over if you just kind of stretch it. Well, I guess it still works, but not the best. Now I want to stick with this design for another second, because we're gonna skip ahead to the year 2015 with the mix and match shredder. Now to be honest, I quite like this guy. It's still too small and the articulation has suffered, but we'll get to that. He's more accurate though. They fixed the helmet to look way better, and he's more cartoon accurate. Now with less detail in the chest and the side plates over here on his thighs. It also looks like they extended the claws just a little bit. They're still not that crazy, but luckily they had more tries to do that, and they actually managed to do the sword right. He holds it this time around, holy balls. Now since this is a mix and match action figure, all the limbs, everything, are just on ball joints, because that was the idea of it. You can mix and match your figures, so you can take his head off and put a turtle head on it. I'm not gonna do that, but yeah, it's the same for everything. Easy to disconnect, but it will not fall off, will not break off. So overall, it was a cool idea. Now going back to the year 2012, which brought us... Okay, sir, I'm sorry. Which brought us the Sound FX Shredder. He's motivated. Now in terms of design, this is still completely based on the original 2012 release. Only we now have a fairly nicely molded plastic cape, which is very long actually. But the main reason because I got this guy is because he's a lot taller and he does fit in a lot better with your regular turtles. He has a very, very botched face. And I know the Shredder in the cartoon, he has a half burnt face, but your eye doesn't melt down like that when you have a burned face. At least I don't think so. The good side though is that they upgraded the claws, now really long and menacing looking as he launches into battle. And if you hold this, oh wow, I almost thought I'm broken, but yeah, you can make him. What the hell? You can stretch out his dialogue. Did I break it? Yeah, I broke him. Well, I mean, he's been here for a while. He has the big backpack, obviously, because there's a battery in there. Probably have to change that after this adventure. Still, overall, I dig it that we finally got a Shredder there who's in scale and has the big spiky arm braces. But articulation-wise, he's obviously limited because this piece, this side of the arm, and this leg over here do the voice effects. As a result, you only have kind of like a weird double ball hinge connection over here, which barely moves around, just has some rotation. The arm is on a swivel, and the forearm as well, and the head still rotates around, but it is completely blocked by his big, bulky shoulders over here. Finally, Playmates tried once more and gave us a second version of Shredder, this time a lot better in every way possible. And of course, they did a repaint of him. Boo. Originally released in 2013 as part of Wave 6 of the original Playmates line, we got Shredder, second version. You are looking though right now at the 2013 SDCC exclusive with all the chrome, because I had to have the chrome. You know, dumb people like shiny things. Well, what can I say that you're not already seeing? They got it right this time. 100% cartoon accurate, even has some shading over here. I don't know if that's the exclusive though, or if the regular one also had that. On top of it, they painted the little detail in his belt, which the other one always had molded on, but never painted. The shoulder pads are just a tiny bit bigger, and yes, the claws are indeed out. Watch out, Wolverine. On top of it, they added one more feature. You can take the helmet off. Zombie! The detail on this face is actually very impressive, especially since we just had the Sound FX, which clearly had no effort put into it. And by the way, yes, you can take off the cape, which just packs into the back. So if you just want the battle-ready Shredder without the fancy cape, you can have that too. Oh, and before I forget, the SDCC version also came with a nice Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles base. Hooray for stability. And in 2017, as the line was ending, Playmates went back and said, you know all these molds we have? We're gonna repaint a whole bunch of them. And that's why we got a golden Shredder. Now, I know I've been knocking the idea of a repaint, which I still think it's stupid, but to be quite fair with you guys, I kinda like this. You got the black cape, the gold, it makes it look very fancy, even though very impractical and not really ninja-like, but I mean, not much more to show you here. They replaced the Grave Gold This line is now red, and his bandages are gray, and he can still take off the helmet, which in this version doesn't really hold on at all. Yeah, kind of a bit of a problem with that. Face also is not as nicely made. He does have a red scar on his eye though. That looks even more brutal. Now for the articulation, the head is still on a swivel. Some things never change. Got the hinges in the shoulder pads. Shoulder itself is on a ball hinge. Nothing really going on in the rest of his arm. He does have another swivel though in the hand, which is blocked by the spikes a little bit. Torso is on another swivel. Legs are packed in hinges. And we actually got hinges in the knees. Yes, that's actually pretty cool. So the final form of Shredder finally has knee articulation after, what, 20 years? So it took them a while, but the 2012 line finally got their Shredder right. And then they repainted him in a nice fancy gold, because that's what we wanted all along. But regardless of that, I mean, I gotta give him props for actually nailing it. I mean, it doesn't matter if it took 2 or 3 tries. I mean, who's even counting? As we all know, every hero needs their villain. And let's be honest here, every show of TMNT needs a Shredder. It would just feel weird without old Buckethead. 2018 line. And if you ask me, we've been spoiled, especially in recent years. And to be fair, not one design of these guys is disappointing. All of them have their own charm. So I really couldn't pass out on any of them. In fact, it's much more fun to have a party. And looking back at the things you cherished as a child. So that's gonna do it for the first Shredder special. There will be many, many more, because throughout time, Shredder hasn't only been in cartoon shows, he's been in much, much more and went to many weird and wonky transformations. But that's for another time. As of right now, I want to thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoy TMNT Toy Throwback, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for more figure reviews, gameplay stuff, and TMNT Toy Throwback.